Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to the Edge Tailoring YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike, also known as Style Guy 89. This video is designed to introduce you and familiarize you with our custom tailoring business, Edge Tailoring LLC, while also offering you an inside look at creating custom apparel and how to create your signature style. We release a new video every Wednesday and Saturday, so click the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any of our content. Also, please hit the like and subscribe button so we know that we're providing you with valuable and enjoyable content. With all that out of the way, let's get to today's topic. And today's topic are the 5 advantages of sport coats. For those newly into or mostly unfamiliar with classic menswear, the type of ensemble that immediately comes to mind is likely a full suit. But with many social and business environments adopting more casual dress codes, a sport coat may just be the ideal garment for your wardrobe. A Swiss Army knife of style and versatility, so to speak. We've got 5 key reasons why. The advice to start building a tailored wardrobe is usually to begin by getting a navy suit, often followed by one in charcoal gray. Meanwhile, sport coats, also called sport jackets, get somewhat less attention when you're first building that introductory level men's wardrobe. Sport coats, of course, are odd jackets designed to be worn with non-matching trousers. And even if you do have a decent number of sport coats in your collection, the average layperson is probably going to compliment you on the street by saying, "Nice suit, I like your suit," because they may not be aware of the difference. Today, though, we'll boost the profile of sport coats and give them their proper due by discussing the 5 advantages that a sport coat can have over a conventional suit in some situations. As usual, we need to start with a little bit of history. Since they've originated, sport coats have been considered somewhat secondary to full suits, especially on the scale of formality, because they are inherently more casual. They originally appeared in the latter half of the 19th century, and they were worn for outdoor sporting events such as hunting, fishing, horseback riding. So definitely they weren't for business wear. More specifically, they started with the Norfolk jacket, which was designed for shooting parties. The origins of this jacket are a bit more muddied. This style was later adapted into a slightly shorter jacket with fewer buttons, and this was the beginning of the modern sport coat. When you're wearing a sport coat, people won't automatically assume that you've just come from the office. The roots of the sport coat reveal the first advantage that it has over a suit because it wasn't originally designed to be business wear. Therefore, it can now be worn in a wider variety of situations and settings. Even though it is now considered appropriate for many business environments and can often be worn with tie and business casual, the more casual connotations of the garment are still intact. For off-duty wear then, it is simply less conservative and formal. If you're going somewhere dressed in a full suit, most people automatically assume that you're a businessman on his way to or from the office. Meanwhile, if you're wearing a sport coat with odd trousers, many people think or just compliment you on this suit, but they're not going to necessarily associate it immediately with business wear. Secondly, a sport coat works perfectly for business casual. Given that a sport coat is less formal than a suit, you can wear it in largely business casual workplaces and not feel overdressed or overly formal. Many workplaces these days are already quite casual. So as a default, if you show up to a casual office wearing a full suit, you might be violating some of the unspoken norms of the office by being so drastically overdressed. However, if the typical dress code of your office features things like Oxford down button shirts, chinos, throwing a sport coat over the top of it isn't necessarily going to be seen as too formal. So with a sport coat, you can indulge in your interest in classic menswear in the office without sticking out like a sore thumb, especially if you go further into the casual mode by wearing a sport coat without a tie. 3. Sport coats are easier to dress down. See, sport coats generally have a more casual feature than suit jackets and even most blazers. For example, they often have soft shoulders without much padding, they have patch pockets, and they're generally not made from smooth worsted wool. Instead, they're usually made from fibers like linen or cotton for warm weather and tweed in cold weather. Whether it's the rougher texture of a tweed jacket or the elegant wrinkling of linen, sport coats are typically just going to look more laid back than a worsted wool jacket. As we mentioned, with a sport coat, you can usually choose to skip a tie and wear a shirt with a pattern like stripes or checks. Meanwhile, wearing a suit without a tie is going to look somewhat incomplete most of the time, especially if your shirt doesn't have a pattern. Again, a sport coat can be worn in a wide variety of settings. It's appropriate for some offices, but it's also equally at home, at the movies, out with friends for drinks, or even on the weekends. It can even be worn in some circumstances with jeans. In a world where dressing casually has become more the norm and fewer people pride themselves on looking sharp, you can put on a sport coat and a pair of odd trousers and still probably be the best dressed person in the room, even though you're not wearing a full three-piece suit. 4. Sport coats are often more durable than suits. As they were originally designed for outdoor activities, the fabrics used to make many sport coats are often thicker and more durable than for suits. Meanwhile, the standard business suit is made of worsted wool, and the super wools in particular, something like a Super 130s or above, are going to be very fine and thin. While these smooth weaves will give you a refined and formal appearance, they're probably going to wear out a little bit faster. On the other hand, when you think of conventional sport coat fabrics, the first one that comes to mind is probably going to be tweed, which is much thicker. In fact, there is even a so-called thorn-proof tweed, which was designed to stand up to potential rips and tears from thorns and brambles in the countryside. Other hard-wearing fabrics typical to sport coats are things like corduroy in the winter months, and to a lesser extent, seersucker and linen in the summer. The smooth worsted wool of a suit jacket will also probably show stains more easily. If you happen to spill coffee or barbecue sauce on your suit, you may need to bring it into the dry cleaner. Though, if you are more of a courageous sort, you could also try laundering your suits at home. Conversely, sport coats tend to be woven to create more texture like a bird's eye or a basket weave, and they're more likely to contain a pattern like houndstooth or Prince of Wales check, or even a herringbone that might be too casual for some business suits. These textures and patterns can hide dirt and stains and minor imperfections in the weave over time, so you won't have to bring things to the dry cleaner or launder them yourself as often as you would for a suit, which will increase the overall longevity of the garment. And of course, will also likely be easier on your wallet. The pants of a suit will also wear out faster than a jacket will because of friction created from things like sitting or your thighs rubbing together as you walk. So, unless you thought ahead to buy a suit, a custom suit from Edge Tailoring with an additional pair of trousers, you may ultimately end up with a jacket that you won't want to wear. And as orphan suit jackets are often too plain to be worn without visual dynamics in outfits. Meanwhile, if a sport coat is wearing out, one of the areas where it's likely to show is in the elbows. This isn't a problem, however. You can simply get elbow patches for a more Ivy League look. On the other hand, a suit coat with an elbow patch is probably going to look a little bit too discordant in terms of overall formality. 5. A sport coat allows for greater style possibilities. Finally, today, the sport coat's fifth advantage is that it's likely going to open the door for a wider range of exciting style possibilities. Aside from the practical considerations we've already outlined, one of the other major advantages of a sport coat is that it's going to allow gentlemen to get into more different style scenarios. This isn't to say that suits aren't stylistically limiting. Of course, that simply just means that sport coats open the door to a wider array of options. For example, if you're fond of patterns, a sport coat will allow you to use them on a larger scale, rather than just in your accessories, while a whole suit with a window pane pattern might be too bold or too loud. But on your upper half, it can certainly work. In other words, pattern is expected when it comes to sport coats. In other examples, simply by adding a pair of odd trousers to be worn with a sport coat, you introduce more complexity and stylistic opportunities. Because a suit is a uniform top and bottom, you don't have as many opportunities to mix and match unless you're deliberately going with, an outrageous style. When it comes to odd trousers though, you could experiment with things like corduroys in the winter months, and in the summer, go with chinos. or even go a little step further to the go-to held pants. As an example, you could wear a sport coat with a Prince of Wales check featuring an overplaid in a particular color. Then, that color is replicated in your trousers or elsewhere in the outfit. It creates a dynamic look with visual interest that's still harmonious. Given the wide variety of options that it allows, a sport coat can often be the preferred choice for experienced dressers. Speaking for myself, I do find that the combination of a sports coat or blazer with odd trousers is more versatile, and it can be more creative than a full suit would often be. So while a suit may be an easier option because you're simply pairing a jacket, trousers, and an optional waistcoat together, all in the same fabric, the sport coat will allow for more creativity overall, and it's more versatile when it comes to formality. With these 5 advantages, sport coats are definitely appreciated by aficionados of classic men's style. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for checking in with us. Jump down into the comment section with any questions or comments. Please visit our website, www.edgetailoring.com, to register to receive a private invitation to our next event, or just to get information about our custom tailoring process. Also, there are links on our website to all our social media, so follow us, like us, and subscribe. It helps our channel to grow. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp and on the edge.